Good morning. I'm Javier.
And I'm Gretchen.
And this is Good Mornings with Sleep Well. And this morning we got a very, very early start. Well, actually, it wasn't that much earlier, huh? Portugal versus Morocco was this morning for the World Cup. And I think we were screaming. We probably woke up our neighbors. Well, yeah, I was screaming. Yeah. She says I'm kind of like a trader on my, what do you call that thing? The box, the...
We have the grid laid out, so we're not making bets on who's going to win, but it helps you break down the teams so that you can pick the entire season, put it down to who you think is going to win. And it has not failed. Every single game we watch, he writes down a team, but when the team's playing, he's rooting for the opposing team. And I'm like, that's a traitor.
I always go for I go for the underdog. I like them. Morocco today was amazing. Who else was I going for that was an under? Oh, Peru. Oh my gosh, the Peru game nearly gave me a heart attack.
And Mexico.
Well, no, Mexico I have on my list anyway. So
did you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so the World Cup is on every 4 years. This is her first World Cup.
Yes.
I think she's liking it. I think she just likes that. You know, it's the pretty men that are on there because
they are beautiful.
Yeah. Right off the bat, I mean, the first game we watched was Portugal and
Ronaldo.
Yeah,
woo, woo.
Yeah, she was just drooling the entire time. But so what's happening is these World Cup games are happening early morning. I think the earliest ones are like in our time, I believe, 4 a.m. Right? Yeah, yes. 4 a.m. And there's some 4s, there's some 5s, there's some 6s. And we figured we wanted to talk on our topic is, and it's a recent blog entry too that I wrote, and it's sleep versus your life. And sometimes it seems like it's just like that, huh?
It does.
Yeah.
You know, even before the World Cup and stuff, it seems like we're at work so much, especially since we're between towns with our stores, that once we get home and we've got some stuff to follow up on, we try to get as much done as we can the evening before we shower and sit down to watch a little bit of TV or read a book or whatever before you go to sleep.
Right.
And with the games now with World Cup, it's just added that much more to our day because even during work, we're playing World Cup. So.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something that we're having to balance, especially with this added World Cup stuff. I mean, sometimes you're looking at 3 games that might be good in one day, and this is only during the beginning. Later on, it becomes just 1 game a day or 1 game a week. So anyway, so the whole point of this one is how do you find that balance between sleep and life, and then also what's the price that you pay for losing that sleep. For us, it's the games right now. Weeks before, it was tiling the house.
Yes.
We're still tiling, and it's having to find that balance between sleep and life. I know for me personally, if I don't get at least if I don't get at least 6 hours of sleep, I really notice it. We average, because I track it on a Samsung and she tracks it on a Fitbit. I average 7 hours. What do you average?
Well, 7 is what I try to hit, but I'm usually about like the 6:40 area, like 6 hours, 40 minutes. But yeah, I do have my goal set for 7. But my thing is like I have some hip issues and I'm also a stubborn side sleeper. So I flip like a fish, and when I, turn like that onto my hips, it tends to wake me up. So I have a lot of like restless time that counts against my sleep.
Yep. So I mean, and that's true. She does move around a lot, but it's just you have to find that sweet spot. So like, what do you feel when you don't get enough sleep?
When I'm not sleeping enough, I also tend to get a little bit irritable, more so than normal. No. I'm normally just this outgoing person that just wants to be happy and make everybody happy and everybody laugh and stuff. But when I'm really tired and stuff, I kind of withdraw and I become a little bit more irritable. Things that normally bug me, bother me. I also become a little bit less capable of focus, I guess is a good way to describe that, because whenever I start working, especially with research, if I haven't had enough sleep, for me to sit into one type of, let's say, a paragraph that's giving you a bunch of information, instead of processing it in a stair step where you're processing from one thing to the next, I end up actually forgetting what I just read, and I'm having to go back through and reread the highlights to the paragraph. So I'm like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, so memory You're irritable? Okay, all right.
Irritable.
Okay.
And I also get to the point whenever I'm trying to do things, I start doing little things that are annoying, like dropping things. And it's not like once or twice. I like drop stuff all day long. So it's almost like my mechanical skills are affected. And yeah.
I would call that concentration.
Yeah.
Because that actually has been shown too. Yeah. Yeah. And with me, I used to work in Las Cruces. And it would be like a 6 to 4 shift or a 6 to 6 shift, and I would have to wake up at 4, and I would drive all the way to Cruces and get there by 6, and then I wouldn't get off work till about 6, so then I'd come home, and this happened for a couple of years, and back then, and this was my 30s, back then was 4 hours of sleep. I was paying the price with 4 hours of sleep. Well, I noticed, and I did a whole bunch of experiments because I'm like that. I'm kind of nerdy like that. I actually would forget the combination to the safe. And now, mind you, this safe was a number that I dialed in every day for years. So I would notice that after 3 days of 4 hours of sleep, I would be like, I would be in mid-number and forget what the numbers were. Or I would forget names. So with me, if I don't get enough sleep, it's numbers and it's names. Like you, concentration goes, and what else? Concentration, and I think really just that ability to concentrate, like what you said, that you have to reread a paragraph over and over again. So yeah, let us know in the comments, like what happens to you when you don't get enough sleep. I'd love to hear a conversation on that. That'd be pretty interesting. Tell us a little bit about the prices you pay, other than what we personally feel. What are the prices that we pay?
Well, whenever you go through the point of lack of sleep, you sit there and you try to think in the back of your head, how am I going to be able to make this up? And I don't know about you guys, but I can't. Like, my brain function is, you will go to sleep at this time, or you'll yawn yourself to the point where you're going to fall asleep eventually soon. And my brain automatically wakes up in the morning. So even if I wanted to catch up, I can't. So trying to force myself to take naps is even harder because we're always working. And when we're at home, I mean, there's just stuff to do. So it's almost like trying to make up sleep isn't even an option.
It's hard, and really there's two thoughts on that whole making up sleep too. Can you really do it? Can you not?
Yes.
Some people say that you can. Some people say that you can't. There's been experiments that show that you kind of can, and there's been experiments that show that you can't. Because sleep is actually flushing toxic proteins from your brain. There comes a point where that plaque builds up, just like brushing your teeth. If you skip brushing your teeth, you get tartar and plaque. That's actually what happens with your brain. If you skip sleep so long, you start getting plaque and your brain slows down. So that's one thing. What else? I know that we've covered this, so I'm trying to get you to say the whole thing that we covered in a blog, and I know this one's important.
Okay, so I have to say this. I do not sleep enough, and I improve because sleep affects weight loss. If you do not sleep enough, it makes your brain create a hormone that makes you hungry, so you end up trying to eat. Another thing is if you're not sleeping enough, you tend to get unfocused and bored, and when you're bored, what do? You eat. It's just a whole thing that women face. I know men do too, but women face it a lot, I think, just off of stereotypes and stuff too. Weight is a huge issue for women.
It's a huge issue for men too. I know for me, we're gonna kick out for Father's Day, which was this past Sunday, 3 days ago. Yeah, 4 days ago.
3.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
So for Father's Day, we went to a baseball game in El Paso, to the Chihuahuas, and had a blast, by the way.
Yes.
And we didn't get home till midnight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we wake up at 6, so that was 6 hours of sleep. Let me tell you, I was snacking on Skittles like you would not believe, and it really is true. Your willpower goes to heck. I mean, it just stops. And it literally it made me feel like crud. I mean, it really did. I had a down moment where we were at the shed getting ready for a delivery, and we were lifting mattresses out, and this mattress, normally it's a little heavy, but it was super heavy after having so much sugar. So yeah, lack of sleep. I blame that one for lack of sleep, and I mean I blame the lack of strength, and I blame the snacking. So yeah, it affects you. So can we talk a little bit about how we find that balance between what we think of as far as like what's worth losing sleep over, what's not worth losing sleep over?
Well, I think if you're going to prioritize things in your schedule where you know you're going to lose some sleep for, let's say you have to get up very early because you have an appointment or something that's priority that you can't just dismiss. But in the process of knowing you have something really early, you also need to take responsibility to not making that a habit. Another thing is if you lose it, try to recover some. If you miss an hour, try to recover 2 hours. That's the stigma to that one. You know, one thing, and I know I'm jumping backwards here, but you were talking about sugar. Caffeine is the other. Like everyone automatically starts craving the caffeine and the sugar because your body's trying to process stuff to give you more energy, but you sugar crash, and with caffeine you crash as well. So it's always that temporary fix. I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of caffeine, I was going to tell you that I do want to cover it on one of our future videos, maybe the next one, the caffeine thing, because there was a news story that just came out. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, on what time you should shut down caffeine. So be on the lookout for that one. That'll be our next video because that one's fun. Yeah.
That sounds good. But you know, in the process of having too much caffeine, too much sugar, it affects your blood pressure too. So when you're really tired, your body's working extra hard to stay awake. Your body's also working extra hard to process all those sugars and stuff, and then you're crashing. So your heart takes a lot of that. Your blood pressure does rise. So over a long period of time, it can be a real health issue. Yep.
So okay, so back to finding the balance. So for you, what makes something worth the sacrifice of a couple hours of sleep? Or is anything actually worth a couple of hours of sleep?
I would say if it's really important, yes.
Okay.
If it's really important. As far as little things that we enjoy, that's not necessarily a must, then I would say that's probably not the best choice to make. Working the fun stuff, the stuff that's not as, detrimental to your life into your daytime hours or your wakey hours instead of compromising your sleepy time. I think another thing too is if we prep our bodies properly, where we're getting enough exercise and utilizing energy properly, this, that, and the other, our body is meant to work. It's not meant to sit. It's not meant to just pass the days away. So if we're working and we're eating good and we're sleeping good, it's going to create the proper body. How am I going to word that?
Almost like a balance.
Yeah, your balance comes to it naturally. So I would say, prioritize the things that are necessary. Make sure you're getting proper food. Make sure you're getting proper exercise so that you're capable of getting proper sleep.
For me, I make it a rule. I mean, I'm in bed by 9. I'm asleep by 10. Anything after that, I'm definitely counting the minutes that I'm losing sleep on. I do not like making it a habit of staying up past 10:30. I don't like that at all.
Right.
And what that is that allows us to get at least 7.5 hours of shut-eye. And I think that for me, the key is getting above that 7. Anything below causes me to be a little bit less concentrated and a little bit less self-disciplined. And for me, that self-discipline is super important. Do I feel like anything is particularly stand out of important to stay up for? There's certain family events, because I will tell you that people can start taking advantage of you, friends, family, whatever. They'll start taking advantage of your time, which your time for sleep should be set in concrete. Okay? And you have to set the rules. You have to set those boundaries, because if you don't, forget about it. You're going to lose way too much sleep. And it's not good. So we're going to wrap it up. So once again, try and find that balance between your life and sleep. We hope that we've given you a little bit of good insight as to what happens, and then how to avoid it becoming a habit. Do you have anything to wrap up with?
Girls, weight loss. let's sleep our proper time. It helps us with weight.
And that's true. Yeah. So, I mean, and with that, we hope to see you next week. And seriously, put down some comments as far as like what you think is important enough to lose sleep on, and also what happens when you sleep past a certain, or when you don't sleep a certain number of hours a night. We'd love to hear what else, what you lose as far as like, for me it's numbers, for her it's moodiness. What is it for you? So let us know, and have a great week, and thank you for watching.
Until next time.
Remember, when you sleep well,
you live well.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.